So, should we be to the chase right now? Or should we really drag this out for 6 minutes before we come to a conclusion? In summary, this is a bad game from start to finish. The game I'm talking about, obviously, is Wayne's World. An early 90s release, Super Nintendo. To be honest, I mean, I read this one was a stinker back in the heady days in the 90s, in the likes of Superplay, and particularly the infamous review I remember was in Total. But I have to confess, I do own this one in particular. You know, it's... Yeah, I remember, I think I got on eBay on this one, free postage packet. It was one of those overnight sort of things that you saw it relatively cheap back in the early noughties and think, I could probably do with that copy. I picked it up. I remember the graphics, so I grabbed it. And thought, well, you know, I enjoyed the Blues Brothers. That was a movie tie-in conversion that bear no resemblance to the original game, or movie. And it was fairly entertaining, even with mediocre reviews. And, you know, it's... I suppose the style is, there are kind of Amiga-like ports, like these kind of things, so, you know, I wasn't paying full price. I thought, yeah, okay, I'll pick it up, I'll play it. It can't be as bad as it was all made out to be. Now, let's be fair to the game before we start taking it around to the back of the shed and shooting it like old Yeller. Wayne's World is playable. In a nutshell, it is playable. It's not fun playable, but it's playable nonetheless. Now, similar to other games of the time, the game has around 9 stages. It's fairly short compared to the kind of types of game you see today. And there are continues handed out in the playground of gaming, like a kid with a brand new pack of Smarties. No, it's very easy to continue this, and if no real element of threat comes from the life system. Every session you play on this game, you're never going to feel shortchanged. You are going to get the value out of it. I suppose that is a positive. And the premise, well, the premise is really loosely based off the first film. Wayne and Garth are amateur TV show presenters. They host their show from their basement in Wayne's parents' house, and what they're trying to do more than anything else is to become famous rock stars. They want to be successful. They want to be well known. They have a minor reputation already, but they want to be somewhere bigger. And so the game takes that loose concept and puts them in all manner of warehouses, studios, and musically themed levels, with them running with their guitars, vaguely defeating enemies and getting to exits to progress. Well, loosely going through a basic part of the story. It feels... To me, it feels less of the movies and more like the Saturday Night Live skits that turned up during the original promotion for the first film and were on TV in America, particularly a few years earlier, which a lot of the UK never really got to see until, obviously, the movies came out. And power-ups are everywhere in this game. Yeah, the controls are... They are responsive. You can use them with enough adept skill that timely jumps do feel right, and the attacks do feel decent enough. But the game is a bit of a git. It's The best one to describe this is Nebulous. It's Castilian on the Game Boy, and it's gone under many different names over the years. And that one was very notorious of having a terrible hitbox. One where you could fall off a ledge and get damage off screen, where there was nothing to collide with. It was frustrating and painful, but the premise was fairly solid. This one hasn't got a fairly solid premise. It is just a basic generic Euro-style platformer. But the main issue surrounding Wayne's World, the game, is combating the fatigue using a constant recycle of repetitive graphics and level design. Given the cartridge of this size midway through its generation, yeah, this should have been more unique assets. I'll put it like this. At the same time that Wayne's World came out, you also had a release of James Bond 2 Robocod on Mega Drive, Snes and many other systems. Now, you could also point at Hook as well. That was a particularly interesting one. And that's actually a very good one I'll point into for the reason I'm going to say. Those two had another 2 or 3 pages worth of pixel art of very unique graphics. Some only used on one stage, some used on a few, but never on every stage. And they've pushed the variety a little bit more, yeah. Oh yes, Robocod did tend to recycle a heavy amount of graphics, and you could see it as you gradually went through about 50 odd levels there. But the problem with Wayne's World is the asset placement on every part of each level just feels all the same. It's you run through 2 or 3 times of the game, and you look at a level and look at a particular section, and you start questioning, yeah, have I done this before? Was this a new zone I'm now get to, or was there a particular threat that I should have faced? Or you get that sense of deja vu constantly. But taking the negatives aside, graphically, it's a charming game. Yeah, the big-headed face and caricature on a small, skinny body was a fun little artistic trope that the early 90s had developed and played really nicely, and it's lovely to see it animated on screen. It does reek of a little bit of quality there, that it kind of teases you into playing that in a way that most didn't. And yeah, it gave it a personality that tied it in with the movie somewhat better than most, and gave you that bit of a choice to think you might like this. Even, you know, when we go back to voice sampling, the soundtrack is rarely robust. Well, very robust, I suppose. And the voice sampling is excellent, given other titles that are on the same system that were absolutely diabolical, which we will touch in later videos. But yet, the story was, yeah, for a movie tie-in, we expected to follow the story somewhat, and it really didn't. Especially, yeah, most times, often not, level to level, it ignored it. Yeah, the conversations did follow more of a TV-style skit, and never really had the charm of the original characters that we grew to know and love and want to hear more of. They're not the characters that helped inspire the sequel, and it did come across as almost a vain attempt to create Wayne's World the animated series. It was that watered down, terrible stylized Saturday morning cartoon, one that we witnessed a little bit with Back to the Future. Luckily not as bad, but if you think of the second season of Bill and Ted, you're roughly on the money. I suppose in a way we were very lucky. We never ever received a Saturday morning variant of Wayne's World, and I suppose I should be thankful. So to summarise, what can we really say? Summarising what? Bad level design? Yeah, it's good graphics. Great speech work. Poor story. And overall poor execution. It does make you wonder what Ocean or Acclaim would have done with this license if things had been different and they'd received the chance. So, conclusion. This is simply it's got to be a 1 out of 5. It's a bad game. There is no repeats on this one in any possible shape or form. Even if I say yes, the graphics are decent or the voice work is decent, that's sampling. That's not the involvement realistically of the actual programmers who developed this. This doesn't involve the general gameplay. It is one that's completely forgettable. It's not one you really want to own. If you're a collector, it's one for the shelf. But I wouldn't even say play it just to experience it. I think this is one to listen to reviews, take it as a footnote that it is a bad game, and leave it at that. Enjoy the movies, enjoy the TV skits. They are so much more better than spend of time than you could ever spend on this game. For more reviews like this, check out that retrovideogamer.com for the latest news, reviews, retro footage, retro reviews, and everything else in between. Until then, like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Take care.